what is a proffer agreement in federal court? A proffer agreement is an agreement between a witness, or more likely a charged criminal defendant, and the government that allows that individual to give a statement to the government that will not be used against them under certain specific circumstances. And sort of how this works in real life is often individuals are being investigated or they've been charged and they have information the government would find helpful. That could be information about co-defendants, it could be information about themselves, it could be information about their case. And that information could assist the government in either making charging decisions about that individual or making charging decisions about others. And so rather than go through the investigative process, which can be very long, can be very cumbersome, and cannot always be accurate since they may not be able to find everything, they give those individuals an opportunity to provide information that may be helpful to them, or may be helpful to them because it gets other people charged or leads to investigations of others. And so it's a way of providing the government information. However, the important thing is if that information is provided truthfully, it then cannot be used against that individual absent certain exceptions. So if a person goes in early in a case and talks about their involvement in, say, a drug conspiracy, they could talk about their own drug dealing, their own drug weights, and if they're honest, those drug weights would not be used against them absent maybe some exceptions. So it's a way for an individual to provide information to the government that might be helpful to them and to the government without it being used against them. In the cases I get, apart from drug cases, it comes up a lot in white collar cases where the government has a long, extensive investigation. If an individual is a target of that and they come in and they provide some of that information the government's looking for, it can be helpful to the government since they don't have to go find it, and it can be helpful to the individual because that information might be good for them or helpful in avoiding charges. So a proffer agreement is just simply a way of allowing a person to provide information and allowing it so that information will not be used against them. Now, there are a bunch of exceptions to that, and each sort of U.S. Attorney's Office handles proffers differently. However, generally speaking, it's an opportunity to provide information that could be helpful to both sides and won't be used against an individual if they're truthful and meet other requirements. We sit down in a lot of proffers with the government for a lot of different reasons. So if you have questions about proffers or about that process, please reach out to us, 843-473-7000.